culture. Is it healthy? In today's video, I'm going to explain to you the dark truth about freelancing, and more specifically, as a freelance photographer and videographer. Being a freelancer, especially in the creative space, for me has been so rewarding and fulfilling. Though the realities of freelancing and running your own business are quite challenging to say the least. I'm going to break this video up in 6 parts. We will discuss the hours, getting and managing clients, the editing process, taking more jobs than you can handle, advice for someone wanting to be a freelancer, and last but not least, how to grow your business as a freelancer. Now let's start off with the hours. Now I can of course only talk about my own experience and how my hours work for me. I generally do about 80 to 90 hours a week of work. This includes traveling, filming, all the way to backing up the shoot's footage, and then editing. It's honestly quite full on. And I'll say this now, it definitely does get exhausting. Long days, spending time on the computer editing, it's honestly more mentally exhausting than physically, though they do go hand in hand. The fundamental difference between being a freelancer and working for a company is when you work for a company, you answer to your company's boss. Whereas as a freelancer, you answer to yourself. Now I'm very self-critical of myself from not only a business perspective, but in general. I also put in a lot more hours than I probably should as I am building my company and service. Truthfully, it never really stops growing. What I will say is, when it comes to how many hours you put, make sure you're able to sustain yourself with the amount of hours you end up deciding to do. Because trust me, you will burn out. I have a couple times and it's not a great feeling. Getting and managing clients are 2 phases. We're going to break it down. The first is finding and getting clients. Now there's a number of ways you can do this. Cold calling, cold emailing, referrals, messaging through social media, talking in person, making new connections at events, the list goes on. Being a freelancer is really like being a salesperson. You need to be able to sell a service that your clients need. Now your job is to approach potential clients and explain to them why they need to pay for your service and how your service will help the client's business grow. Now this sometimes can be a lot of work. What I generally do from this stage is once I've spoken to the clients, gotten their attention, the next step would be to create a proposal, the pitch. The pitch proposal's key components and purpose is really an introduction to your company, an overview of a problem you can solve for your potential client, a compelling solution to the problem you outline, obviously with goals, steps, and a timeline, and social proof to show off your expertise, along with the price it'll cost for your services. Now, I can't stress this enough how important having conviction is. Potential clients are entrusting their hard-earned dollars to give you for your services. You need to be able to show them you can achieve and help them reach their desired milestones. Now, generally, if you can get a second meeting with a potential client for a Zoom call or a Skype call and you do a good job, there's a good chance you'll close that particular client. Now, I can't stress this enough as well. Even if the client agrees, until the first payment has been processed and in your account, they are not a client. Remember that. Until you get that first paycheck, they are not a client. So try and close them in early. Now we go on to the second phase, managing the clients. Generally, once you've passed the first phase, the second phase is where you have to put your words into action. Normally there's a 3-month probation period. Testing the waters, seeing if the chemistry is there between both parties. And sometimes it's less than 3 months, though 3 months seems to be more standard. Now managing clients can be difficult, especially when you're working with multiple clients. This is where I would advise you to bring someone else on board or onboard less clients, as there will be expectations, as there should be from your clients. They'll want the deliverables on certain dates, some will want it quicker, some are a little bit more patient. It's really a case-by-case situation, which means there's no clear answer. Now I've been on that side of the fence where I took more than I could handle, and it became more stressful than I can tell you. Now the editing process. This is where it becomes mentally draining. You end up spending a large portion of your week editing. There's constant late nights sitting at the computer, looking at a screen, editing photos, preparing reels, adding subtitles, cutting long clips, finding the best clips, removing objects, rotoscoping, managing socials. getting late food at night. The list goes on. You essentially become a jack of all. Truth is, it naturally goes that way, where you essentially wear more than one hat. Now, I haven't even mentioned creating proxies yet. Proxies are essentially a smaller and lower quality copy of a high resolution video. Video proxies are typically created to stand in for raw footage during the editing process. The reason? Well, smaller files, aka proxy files. They're easier to work with because they'll load faster and use less processing power and won't crash your computer. Now, this generally takes quite a bit of time, especially if you have a lot of clips. Backing up the footage for the edit, this is essential. I do a dual backup process to 2 hard drives for redundancy. Now, this can also get very expensive depending on your setup. For me, I generally use 8TB hard drives or bigger. Next, let's talk about the issue of taking more jobs than you can handle. Look, don't get me wrong, this can be both a blessing and a curse. Let me explain. One hand, it can be very rewarding. You get more work than you actually handle. This will challenge you to mitigate time and how you're going to work around to make it work. Because, let's be honest, when you're pushed to the corner, you begin to realize you have so much more you can give. It is only through burden where you can find strength. I really do believe this. There was a great quote I heard, and it goes to the effect, "Don't wish life was easy, wish you were better." You also have the option of bringing on someone else to help take some of the workload off you. Pay them a percentage and sleep easy at night. Now, the other side of taking more jobs in the negative sense is it can be very overwhelming, not just initially, but even as a seasoned company director. Life gets hard, and let's not forget, we aren't robots. My advice for people who want to be a freelancer or start their own company or business is you have to be passionate about what you do. Because in honesty, if I didn't have this fire of a passion in what I do, I would have failed a long time ago. It will be very difficult to maintain these long hours that can be absolutely relentless. I mean, literally, it'll beat you to the ground and keep you there if you let it. So being passionate will honestly get you through what the beginning stages, which I consider to be the hardest, of starting a company or starting off as a freelancer. Next is persistence. Persistence, tenacity, and sagacity. Let me explain in the simplest terms. You will need to master patience. You will need to be the master of art of deep vision. Vision that goes beyond you. What you're building, and understand that it's a long-term investment for your future. There is no easy way to just become successful. You have to work hard, and even then it's not promised, though you have a much better chance than the person who sits there and contemplates life and makes excuses and all he does is talk about it. Now, growing the business. Growing the business is a process which is built over time. As the old saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your business. Starting a business can be a big step for anyone, and understanding the fundamentals to what it means to have and run a business is essential. Though, with that being said, you don't need to know everything nor have everything set up. That will all come along the way. Now, I'm talking from experience as a creative freelancer. If you're not a creative, this still applies to you and any field you decide to freelance in. The principles remain the same. I'll leave you with a quote from the great Arnold that I feel is very fitting. You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pocket. Guys, if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you. It means the world to me, and I hope you were able to take something away from this video and my experience as a freelancer. If you'd like to see some of my other videos, click one of these playlists below, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next one. Please leave your questions if you have any. I'll definitely respond to them, and thank you guys again. Have a great one.